Hello everyone and welcome back to Age of Nagash, which is a channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar. And in this episode we are going to be reviewing Slaves of Darkness yet again in part 5 of the army review. And in this video we are going to have a look at their endless spells. There are 3 endless spells and we are going to give you our thoughts on them. So joining me in this video is going to be Jamie, who's been joining me for my entire Slaves of Darkness review, and thank you very much for agreeing to join us for this video. So how are you doing today, Jamie?
Doing very well, thanks, mate. It's always good to talk more Slaves to Darkness.
Always is, and it's quite interesting because we have actually reviewed all, like, I would say the standard units, because I know these spells are going to go over, for the endless spells even, have war scrolls, but we've reviewed, like, all the units types, all the normal models. So it's actually quite interesting to look at something a bit different in this video. And this video should be a bit shorter than the sort of, like, I think, what was the hero one was like 4 hours and 25 minutes. So it won't be that long, more than likely. If it was, dear God, have we managed to find a lot of stuff to talk about with these spells.
Yes.
Or we've looked at the wrong army. One of the two. So what I'd like to say, guys, is if you've enjoyed this video while you're watching it, please smash that like button, as it really does help the channel. Just in case you forget at the end, it really is good. If you're not a subscriber already, please smash that subscribe button, only takes a second, and make sure you click the notification button so you never miss a video again. And what I'd like to also say is a huge shout out to my patrons. So it's going to be my Morghasts, which is Sandback, my Vampires, which is Mir, Martinez, Rouse321, Max T, and David A, and then our Necromancers, which is Jacq.l, RadiationRiley, AW77, Dice Sagas, and WolfNick. Thank you all really very much for your continued support. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to make these videos and try and help as many people get into Age of Sigmar as possible. If you would like to consider being a Patreon, please go to the description down below and you'll find a link to my Patreon at the top of that description. Even if you could just give a $1 a month, guys, it makes the whole difference in me being able to continue doing this. So with no further ado, let us get on with our first review. So the first one we are going to have a look at is going to be the 8-fold Doom-Sigil. So we are going to, well, it's going to cost us 40 points to start with, and how we're going to do this is going to cost us 40, the next one's going to cost us 60, and the one after is 80 points. So we're going from like the cheapest to the most expensive, as I think is a good way to do it. So the lore for the 8-fold Doom-Sigil is it is a icon of chaos in all its glory, blazing symbols of pure ruin. To fall in the presence of such a sorcerous construct is to be damned, for these lingering spells hungrily suck souls into the realm of chaos for the gods to feast upon, and a measure of this siphoned power is offered to those devoted who fight in the icon's shadow. So, Jamie, do you want to tell us the long description for this model?
8-fold Doom-Sigil is a single model.
Thank you very much. You can do that. No, I'm joking. Yeah, so like very simple, endless spell.
It's the very cool sigil model, though.
It is.
So going into it,
I'll tell you what. So like you read quickly through the magic stuff, and I'm going to get up the picture just because the endless spells aren't as familiar as some of the models. I'll just make sure that everyone knows who they are. So if you can see on the screen now, it is this one I'm looking at. It's the pure chaos symbol, not the one with a screaming face spewing lava, spewing fire and everything. It's just this chaos symbol with the fire underneath it. So yeah, so that's that. And yes, sorry, did you want to take us through the magic for this? So how are we summoning this thing, Jamie?
It has a casting value of 5, which is very, very low. Only Slaves of Darkness wizards can attempt to cast a spell. It's a successfully cast. Set up the 8 Doom-Sigil model wholly within 12 of the caster.
Cool. So casting 5. So
casting 5. Yeah, that's nice and easy compared to most endless spells. But you kind of see why, as when I've used it, it kind of sounds good, but then I just find it a bit underwhelming. So we go into why, Well, I can't believe it's underwhelming. It's empowered by atrocity. The souls of those slain in the presence of the 8 Doom-Sigil are absorbed by the magical manifestation, feeding the dark gods' eternal hunger and inspiring those mortal servants who fight nearby to battle on, as their own lives are offered in tribute. So keep track of the number of models that are slain within 12 inches of this model in each turn. At the end of each turn, roll a dice for each model that was slain within 12 of this model during that turn. For each 3+, the player whose turn is taking place must pick one Slave to Darkness unit wholly within 18 inches of this model, add 1 to the attack characteristics of the unit's mini-weapons, not including those of its mount, and to all that player's next hero phase. See, that all sounds awesome. You think a whole block of 20 odd models die, you're going to get at least 10 3+s. You think, oh yeah, plus 10 attacks. A unit cannot benefit from this ability more than once per turn. So if you've only got one unit in range, you just get +1 attack is still good, but if 20 odd models die,
Yeah. I mean, this thing is
you got
40
to be
points, right?
very clever with your placement on this. You kind of want it to dump it right where it can reach a whole massive portion of your army.
Yeah.
And obviously where a lot of things are going to die. Because you could give pretty much your whole army +1 attack.
Which is good. But it's only into next hero phase, yeah?
Yeah.
So, because it's the end of each turn, if you happen to... essentially, by going priority or not, or just having the second turn in that battle round, if it's your turn next, it's useless. And I understand this also comes down to, the way you play and making sure that you're summoning this and triggering this off on a turn that you're going to maximise the most in your following turn. But for 40 points for myself, I prefer other endless spells. Like, for example, one that I used recently on the tournament channel, which was the Palisade, just a normal malign sorcery spell. For 30 points, I found useful. So, just for the sake of, if you've got 40 points left over, I found in malign sorcery a better endless spell to use, really. I think. What I would say, though, is that there may be people out there who've had better luck with it than me and you, Jamie, have managed to make the most out of it. So if that is the case, please let us know that, obviously, in the comments down below. So it would be good to hear that. I'll put it in the chat. Because I want this to be good. I just feel... I think it depends how your army is, okay? If you've got, 1 or 2 big kitty blocks that do most of your damage, it's probably not going to be the best thing. But if you've got, 4 or 5 things, even just one of those things just being a Chaos Sword and Carcatrack, being able to chuck out a bit of damage for a Chaos Sword and Manticore, then it could be useful,
Yeah, I think it's all about placement and timing. Obviously, you got to make sure that your things are dying. So you could obviously charge your own kind of chaff unit. So obviously let that chaff unit die, and then you got more chances of your chosen or your knights or
it could
even Archaon to be in range. An extra +1 attack on either Slayer of Kings ain't going to be something you're not going to want. Extra dice to put that lizard in the sword.
Yeah, to put So for anyone who watched my tournament yesterday, there was a Carnosaur who killed Archaon flat out in 1 round of attacks, which was insane. So I do very much want to put a T-Rex in a sword. But I think this could be useful if you want to charge, if you want to take 1 block of Marauders, which is something I did with a Idolaters list, and basically charge it into the enemy turn 1, and then have all my Knights in a Ruinbringers battalion ready to be the second wave to charge in turn 2. When all your Marauders are dying, you could be then transferring all those attacks onto your Chaos Knights. So it could be useful. But it's not my favourite one at all.
No.
So keywords, we've got Endless Spell and just 8-fold Demon Sigil. So with that, what I would say is that, like, for example, because you're going to buy all 3 of these, and you may not want to try this one out, and if you don't, it's an awesome model for you to convert into something else. Really, it's just a lovely big chaos symbol.
Oh yeah, you can definitely put it on, maybe one of the Warcry terrain, or you can make a real cool set piece for it. Make your own war shrine with it.
Exactly. I think it's good. I think a lot of it you already need to be in combat, because as soon as it's in your next turn, because you can't benefit from this and then it'd be your next turn and then make a bunch of charge rolls and stuff, and then because how I run a lot of my armies is they do the impact on the charge on that turn, and I won't benefit from this because if I gave them extra attacks at the end of a turn and then the next turn and they're going to charge those units into combat, it's already been my hero phase, so I would have lost those extra attacks. Do you sort of see where I'm coming from, Jamie?
Yeah.
And that's where, for me. But if your army is much more to be stuck in combat and to win through the grind, then I can see this being more useful to you. I think is a good way to end it. Something that I do like though is going to be the Realm Scourge Rapture. So this is my favourite ender spell, and we do actually have a picture of this one, so I can just zoom and show you which one this is. This is essentially all the spikes coming up around here, which is very nice. And I love it. I've talked about why I really like this for multiple reasons, but it's going to cost you 60 points, right? And some lore for this. So even by the standards of Chaos Sorceries, Realm Scourge Raptures are not subtle weapons. When the necessary magical power has been channeled and released by a tribal shaman, the land itself withers in the grip of chaos. Sharpened spikes surging forth like an accured tidal wave to overwhelm everything in their path. Description: a Realm Scourge Rapture is a single model. It's also predatory. So a Realm Scourge Rapture is a predatory and a spell. It can move up to 9 inches and can fly. So the magic, so summon Realm Scourge Rapture. So slamming their staff against the earth, the sorcerer calls forth the power of the Realm Scourge Rapture. Summon a Realm Scourge Rapture has a casting value of 7. Only slaves of darkness wizards can attempt to cast this spell. If successfully cast, set up a Realm Scourge Rapture model wholly within 9 inches of the caster. So casting value of a 7. I think it's worth it, but it's a high 2 more to your casting value than you did on the 8-fold Doom Sigil, and also, as we've mentioned, there's not really many ways inherently to get +1 to cast for your Slaves of Darkness, because it has to be a Slave of Darkness wizard for these endless spells, and only if you really want to go heavy on trying to get as many pluses to cast as you can. It's hard to just get +1 here and there, without investing too much.
You're relying on terrain, really, aren't you?
Relying on terrain, or even if you haven't got any arcane terrain on the board, it could be a case. You also got to try and be more than 30 inches away from the enemy, so they don't. If you manage to get a 7, they're not just going to boom and unbind you because they've got +1 or 2 to unbind or whatever it is. So I have used this in that effect. And you can do it, but you just cast a 7, and cast a 7 is something that we've said before with Slaves of Darkness. A lot of stuff is cast a 7, so you do get used to that. But it's the average on 2 dice, so because the average on 2 dice, and you play 5 turns in a game, and it's you keep failing to try and get it. So, but you should be able to cast it 3 about 5 turns. But remember, once it's on the board, until the enemy unbinds it or whatever, it's just going to stay there pretty much. So,
yeah.
There are 3 abilities, okay, so let's just see what the third one was, but it's quite simple. So when this model was set up, the player who set it up can immediately make a move with it. So bear in mind, you set up hold within 9 inches caster, and it can move up to 9 inches. It pretty much makes a 18-inch move from setting up, which is...
It's quite far, isn't it?
It is far. It's a big distance, which is great because with this spell, because it's not the smallest end of the spell, it's quite wide. You do want that. So you've got Tide of Ruin, right? So whenever you set up a Realm Scourge Rapture, you must place it widthways in the direction you wish to move it. Whenever it moves, move it in a straight line in that direction. It cannot move backwards. So this is overall my favourite thing, just out of simplicity of what I love this Realmscale Rapture for, because the enemy can't use it against you as long as you're not an idiot, essentially. You know, as long as you don't move all your models within range of this bloody thing.
Yeah, as long as you don't run in front of it.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. You know, look when you're crossing the road, essentially, because this thing is, it's just going to be easy for you. So that's great. Because why I don't like taking Predator spells is just because the enemy will just use them against me at some point. So I'm a big fan of this.
Unless they've changed, I don't think they've changed the rules, have they? That when obviously whoever's turn it is, the other opponent gets to move, has the first move of a Predator Enter spell.
Yeah.
Which obviously, if this is the only one on the board, this one it gets to be moved by your opponent. But because it can only move in one direction, they've only got one option in what to do. Either leave it where it is or move it as many inches they want.
Yeah.
In the direction it's facing.
Yeah, so like they can eventually, what they'll try and do is try and like move it off the edge of the board if they can't like unbind it, because casting value is 7, right? So it's an interesting thing. So when we say like it's quite a high casting value to try and get off, but once it's on the board, it makes it harder for the enemies to try and unbind it, right?
Yeah.
So that's good. So yeah, I really just like that bit for the simplicity. It can't really come back to hurt you, and also can be used as a good bit of just like blocking off a bit of the board, because unless the enemy can fly, this can just like be blocking a bit of a flank of just moving across. You know, you can use, if you haven't got many models in your army for board control, this can help towards it. Okay, and then we got what's that word? You do it, Jamie. Shockwave. What was the first word? Can't even read it.
Depilating.
Is that it? Anyway, I'll read the lore for it and it'll make up on it. So the vicious spikes that erupt from an unrushing Realmscale Rapture not only impale any unfortunate enough to be struck by them, but also send those nearby staggering through the tremors that rock the tortured earth. Okay, so after this model has moved, each unit that has any models it passed across, and each other unit that is within 1 inch of it at the end of its move suffer D3 mortal wounds.
Very good, but read on.
Yep, the next bit, which is the important bit, is in addition, until the end of the battle round, half the move characteristic of each unit that has any models it passed across, and each other unit that is within 1 inch of it at the end of its move. So D3 mortal wounds, lovely, quite like, you know, we've seen it before. The fucking second bit though of half in that movement is, oh boy, that's why I take this thing, because that is brilliant.
Yeah, it's just like you got, you know, I think I'm saying it's slow, so obviously dwarves normally come to mind.
Liberators, like, you know, Stormcast.
Yeah, big liberators. They're saying you got like a big block of what they Hearthguard Berserkers.
Yeah.
One, they're going to be probably too slow to move out the way of this, and then if you hit them, they've got movement 4, going down to 2.
Something like that.
Yeah, they are moving very slow.
Yeah, it's great. Even fast things. So what are your eels moving 7 inches without running and moving and all that sort of stuff? 7 inches. So 14 inches normally, isn't it?
And 16.
They move. Bloody hell, they are fucking fast, aren't they? But even just making eels move 8 inches is big.
Yeah, that is generally then, you know, as a deepkin player who used to being able to get over the board quickly, going down to 8 would just be going at a snail's pace compared to what you're used to.
Exactly. Even if, I don't know, using it against like Terrorgeist and stuff, because they've got big bases, they'll probably be getting in range of this thing. And now they're moving 7 inches, and with their big bases, that's quite hard to move around. So it's good, it's great. What I'd like to say though is it doesn't say half the move characteristic rounding down and rounding up, whereas some things like Spectral Grasp and Legion of the Gash, which if you're in range of a senior piece, your half movement, it then says rounding down, but it doesn't say that here, and I couldn't see that in an FAQ. So
yeah, that'd be interesting. I think there must be some units that are 5-inch move. Whether that be like
there's a
two
lot
and a
there.
half.
It's most of the Stormcast range. So what I would do is, like, if I have missed it in FAQ, please let me know that in the comments. It'd be great to for everyone to know and myself to be aware. But if it's me, I'm just going to say to my opponent, half movement, rounding up, just to give them the benefit of the doubt, because it just seems fairer that way. Because you
I
don't want to
agree.
go. I'm going to give myself the benefit of the doubt, and it's like, oh, okay, that's a bit of a dick move. So that's what I do, and I love it. And what are we gonna? Do you know what we're gonna pair this with, Jamie? What else in this book we're gonna do to help with this?
Well, if you definitely want spells,
Yep,
you
but
definitely want the
what we
Bardus.
what we can also do easily is I talked about this in the second idolaters list I did with the EOS coach, and that is where I had this in my army, the Realmscope Rapture, and I also had a Khorne Demon Prince in my army, because the Khorne Demon Prince did his command ability, like Blood Slick Ground, and it made enemy units within 18 inches of him half the run and charge rolls.
Yeah, if you were getting both of them off, then you're just, well, making things pretty much not moving, aren't you?
Well, that's
You
it,
think
right?
they're going to try and run to make up for being half moving if they've been hit by this, but then you half that, and then they probably might be able to get in range, in which then you're then half in their charge.
Yeah, well, let's say like a
Just
unit.
completely nerfs them, doesn't it?
Let's say a unit that moves 5 inches, right? Right, they're half the movement because of this end of spell. Now they're moving 3 inches. And then let's say they run and they get a 4 to run. Turn that to 2. So then they've moved 5. They've moved their normal movement by running. So it's good. And also, what we say from the like Demon Prince Khorne, it's just spend a command ability and you get it. It's not a spell or anything. So it's only this you'd be risking on, because this is quite big. And how I like to do it is put it right in the middle of the board, so it's harder for the enemy to get around it. It's great. And yeah, of course they can unbind it and everything, but you can say that of every ender spell. So
definitely.
I really like this, and you can make the enemy so slow. And then if you want to also take that spell you have in your spell lord to try and make an enemy unit not be able to move, and you also take Bellicor to make an enemy not be able to do something as well, like, you can really muck around with your opponent. And something we should mention, well, we talked about it when we reviewed the Cabal list as well, but they have ways to make endless spells move again by doing like blood sacrifices and stuff. So
yeah, I think
Cabal list is great if you want to go
this
endless spells.
yeah, if you want to go in the spells, Cabal is more like not so much sure way, but a better way to get the spells out. And like you say there, with one of their rituals, both their rituals are good for spells anyway. But yeah, particularly if you're taking this spell that can move, then you're going to want to, I'd say, definitely take Cabal list.
Because remember, it says after this model has moved. It's not like, oh, it only happens in between the phases, in between the battle rounds even. It's after the model has moved. And I'll tell you what, right now, I mean, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'll quickly get at the Cabal list just so I can read word for word what it is. So apology if you can hear the book and stuff like that.
It's in the hero phase, they get to do a sacrifice, so you still would have to be within range of this to move it again. Because you move it so many inches compared to how many people you kill.
Yeah, so like you could do it, so it's a ritual of corruption, right? So pick one of the friendly Cabalist units within 3 inches of a wizard performing this binding ritual and roll a dice. On a 3 plus the ritual is successful, and D3 models from that unit are slain. Then pick one friendly Predatory Ender spell within 12 inches of that wizard. If one model was slain by the ritual, you can move it 3 inches. If 2 models, you can move it 6 inches, and if 3 models, you can move it 9 inches.
Yeah, it's definitely where your opponent could move it in the in between phase.
Yeah, and like make it so it didn't do any damage to them as an example, and then
then you can just be like, right, I'm going to kill 3 of my guys. Or I mean, say you got 3, and I'm going to move it to full 9 inches and hit 2 of your key units.
Yeah, and when we say like why do you want to kill three marauders or three cultists? If you want more information about the Cabalists, please go back and check our Sage of Darkness Army Part 1 review, where we went over all the allegiance abilities, sub-allegiances and stuff for more details there. But I just wanted to basically just quickly remind everyone that that does exist, so you can really make the most out of this.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely an A spell, and it's got great utility in pretty much any list.
This is my favourite predatory endless spell, because it's an endless spell the enemy aren't going to use against me purely for that reason. But it's good. I could easily see this just doing the D3 mortal wounds, and it's just like, it's all right. Like, the enemy can't use it against me, but it doesn't really add much. But the half the movement is it's fantastic. Right, I feel like we've talked about this one for long enough. So keywords is Endless Spell and Realmscale Rapture. So then going on to the second one, which is going to 80 points. So double the price of the eightfold Doom-Sigil. So this is the one with the face you can see on the screen now, which is like the chaos symbol, but it's got that demonic face and spewing a fiery lava into the ground. And it is quite expensive. So let's really see what this thing is going to do. But firstly, looking at the lore. So the Darkfire Demon Rifts are eldritch portals torn ajar by the darkest incantations. Once the veil has been sundered, the raw magic seeping from the realm of chaos forms an opening for the horrors beyond to vent their spite. Widened and empowered further by spellcraft that draw upon the essence of chaos. So a Darkfire Demon Rift is a single model. It's predatory, so a Darkfire Demon Rift is a pretty under spell, and it can move up to 12 inches, so that is quite far, and of course it can fly. And then the magic. So summon Darkfire Demon Rift, reciting the names of ancient demonic entities in the dark tongue. The sorcerers focus their will to wrench the veil between the realm and essence of chaos wide open. Summon Darkfire Demon Rift, casting value of 6. Only Slaves of Darkness wizards can attempt to cast this spell. If successfully cast, set up a Darkfire Demon Rift model wholly within 9 inches of the caster. So with the so just quickly reading that as well. Reality Scream. So when this model was set up, the player who set it up immediately make a move of it. So because it's moving 12 inches, effectively, when you set it up, you can make this thing go, what is that, 21 inches?
21 inches, yeah.
It's far. And what I'd like to say, just to mention, it's almost like taking for granted like the Reality Scream's ability by making this thing be able to, move when it sets up, and the Realmscale Rapture being able to do it as well. And we can't take that for granted, because something that I've seen a fair few people make a mistake on is not every endless predatory spell can move when it's set up. It's not just a flat thing. It has to say it. So it's good that it can.
Yeah, okay. You definitely want it in a certain position.
Yeah, actually, I'll tell you what. So I've only personally used the Realmscale Rapture before, and Jamie, I know, have used the other two. So do you want to take us through the real meat and, gravy, really, of this Darkfire Demon Rift? So what its ability is going to do? So billowing energies. Yep.
After this model has moved, each unit has any models it passed across, and each other unit that is within 1 inch of it at the end of its move suffers D3 mortal wounds, which
same as the last one, isn't it?
Like you say, on its own, it's neither here or there. But then you get they're fueled by sorcery. So this is where you do, if you want great potential, obviously this comes down to your opponent as well, but fueled by sorcery, add 1 to the number of mortal wounds inflicted by this endless spell for each wizard and each other endless spell within 12 inches of this model after it has moved. So the more wizards you've got close to it, and the more wizards your opponents have close to it, and in the spells, you're just upping up the damage to anything that it's moved across or is within 1 inch of. So I definitely would, how I played it when I played you that time, was pretty much every hero in my army was a wizard. and I tried moving them up as close as I could to this thing. And I think you was playing
I was
Bone
Bone
Reapers.
Reapers, and you wiped out a unit of, it was 20 or 30 Mortec Guard straight away.
Because you had, I think, three. You had two of those guys on the floaty chair, or the leg chair.
Soul Masons, yeah.
And this was probably the reason as well I took the 8 Doom-Sigil, because it was just a cheap endless spell to throw out on a casting value of 5. And it's just an extra 1 damage for my Darkfire Demon Rift at the time. Because I think I had 4 of my wizards in range, 2 of your wizards in range, and then I think we had 2 endless spells in range, because I think we had your Screaming Head in range of it.
Yes, the Bone Reaper one, yeah, that was in range as well.
So what's that? That's 8 damage plus D3.
And then you did like the Winter Chaos spell on them as well. Like, but eight mortal wounds plus D3. It's huge. And I know that's obviously a extreme example, and it's not always going to be like that, but you can build around. Like, I only had like one. I suppose I was adding 3 to that, but like a lot of other armies out there have an Ender spell and at least 2 wizards. Like, and it's because it's within 12 inches of this spell. It's quite big. It's not like within 6, as an example. So you can do a lot.
You think if you managed to get this spell off against, I know it'd be really hard to get off against each army.
Well,
pretty much all that
you
stuff
slip
is
that
really
through the
good,
net.
but like, it'll just...
But what's also cool, right, is that you could take Zeech. You could be Zeech Allegiance, right? And with the amount of wizards you're going to have in your Zeech army, just have a Slaves of Darkness, Chaos Sorcerer Lord or something. Get him to do this. Or get Archaon to cast it, because he could be in a Zeech army, which I know does quite well. I think a Zeech Archaon list won a recent big TTS tournament. And, yeah, then you're getting all your wizard bonuses that they're in range. Like, there's a lot you can do with this, right? Like, it's quite... I like it. It's, when you first...
Obviously, like you say, what you pointed out with the 8... the Realms Scourge, your opponent can take control of it, but it can only move in one direction, so you're safe. This one, however, you are a bit more unsafe. So you do have to be aware of, it can also bite you in the butt.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I want to say, right, is that 80 points, it's steep for this.
Yeah, when we've talked about like the heroes in particular, you are really tight for points, I feel.
Yeah.
In the book, 80 points, you kind of thinking, one, are you even going to have 80 points left?
Nope.
Or are you even thinking, if you got 80 points left, would you want this, or would you want, a command point?
So when it goes to 80 points, let's say you haven't already bought your command points. Like I said, when I'm starting my army, that's like the first thing to write down, just because how useful it is in most Slave Darkness armies. But if you haven't done it already, your choices are right. Along the lines of, you got 80 points, you can have the 8-fold Doom-Sigil and 40 points left over, or you can have the Realmscale Rapture, which I honestly prefer, because the enemy can't use it against you, and it's going to nerf the enemy movement, and this is a movement game, so i.e. it can help you win the game better than this can, in my honest opinion, most of the time. So
yeah.
You got the endless spell. You also have other endless spells out there that are useful, right? And so this one. But then going into the units, you can have a unit of cultists, so that's your Warcry warbands. You may go, do I really want one of those units there? A unit of 8 Iron Golems for 70 points. Brilliant. And that's 10 points cheaper than this, so if you had 80 points left over to spend, then you're in chance of a triumph as well. So there's that. You can have a unit of Iron Golems. You can have a Chaos Spawn, which I know doesn't sound great, but one Chaos Spawn holding a back objective can be worth a lot to you. So that's good as well. We mentioned this when we talked about Chaos Spawn. You could also ally in some Chaos Warhounds, is what I love to do. That's a really fantastic, massive screen for 80 points. Or you could have, like I say, a command point, or Like, yeah, you can't really get any heroes for like 80, but and a lot of the times I don't get to 80 points and go, ooh, what do I add?
Yeah. Most times,
Most it's 60, maybe, or 70. Like, but
which, like you say, I think if you're having that, like when I took this, I ran to ball list. I made it because I was running to ball list. I wanted to make the whole theme.
mm-hmm.
I tried to make the most of it with like getting the bonuses to spells. So I took all the wizards I could, and I think I took all three of the endless spells just for the fact of I wanted to try them all out. And I feel like that's probably your best bet if you're doing the Darkfire Demon Rift, is to try and go wizard heavy. Because it's the best way to obviously
If you're not going wizard
up the
heavy,
damage.
if you're not going wizard heavy, this thing's not worth it at all.
No, because
I'm
you
not
really
I'm
want
not
to
paying
make the
80
most.
points for something to do D3 mortal wounds and not half the enemy movement, and the enemy can use it against me. Like, I'm not doing that. You can have
Yeah,
cog. You can have
precisely.
cogs. You can probably have spell portal. Like, 80 points is up there with the most expensive ender spells.
But you saying about like the spell portal, even like putting the Realm Scourge Rupture through the spell portal could be a massive bonus. I'll rather do something like that. I think I don't know how this one is the more expensive one, where I'd definitely say the 60 points for the Rupture is a much better in a spell.
If this was 60 and the Realmscale Rapture was 80, that would be a more interesting conversation.
Yeah, you definitely would look at this and wouldn't be scuffing at it so much. I know it's only, it might sound different. It's only 20 points. Well, even 60, you're kind of looking at this and thinking,
Oh, this thing was 20 points, did you say? Yeah, take it all day long, but yeah. I know. I think
the 20 point difference though.
yeah, all right, yeah. I think Mate's thing 60. What I would say, and at the time it's recording, if you can see the date at the bottom of the computer, this is currently the 18th of December 2020. We haven't had a points adjustment since this, so this is 80 points, and the other was 60, and the other one before that 40. We are I really am banking on there being like a winter FAQ, which they have done like the last I think couple years. Like that's why I've been put off doing like list building videos as well, just because a point change may be coming, but I'm not too sure because they haven't, like as far as I've seen, announced that they're going to do a points change FAQ. And
Yeah,
when they,
I think because this year they're so far behind, aren't they?
yeah,
If you think realistically, we haven't really not long had the general handbook.
no, and also last year they announced they released the FAQ for winter on the 17th of December, so like yesterday, basically when we're recording this. So I don't know the points are going to change. They can always just make it January or something. But at the moment, what I'm saying, 80 points, I wouldn't take it personally. Depending, unless I went Gabalist and really went heavy on wizards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to say about, if you really go heavy on wizards, take it. If not worth it. Realmscale Rapture is just good flat out. What I would also like to say is that a lot of the wizards in this army have good inherit spells on their war scrolls, right? And beyond that, they have good spells in the Slaves of Darkness spell lore. So who have I got who's going to sacrifice casting those spells to summon this? Right, well, you've got the Gaunt Summoner Zeech, who casts 2 spells. You've got Be'lakor, who casts 2 spells. He's pretty much an auto including your army, so you'll probably have him. And you've got Archaon that casts 2 spells. So those 3 units, those 3 wizards even, are great candidates to be casting these endless spells. For me, I always include Be'lakor, so he is going to be doing his second spell using one of these probably.
Yeah,
I want to be one of these.
If we got Archaon could be a great candidate. Obviously, you can only do Mystic Shield and Arcane Bolt.
Yeah, yeah. Why does he not? And we said it when we reviewed it. Why does he, the Lord of the End Times, the Ever Chosen, the Grand Master of the Apocalypse, and everything else he has, but he doesn't have his own unique spell, which is sad. But yeah, he's a good candidate for this because you know he's going to be quite up there and close to the enemy, isn't he? For any of these ender spells. And but yeah, so just say keywords, ender spell, and Darkfire Demon, so very straightforward. And then going on to just talking about my favourite one, like I say, it is going to be the Realm Scourge Rapture. And I'm just making sure I've read it right because when I looked at the tab name for it, they've typed it in wrong on the PDF because on the PDF on the tab it's called Ream Scourge Rapture, which is interesting. Ream, like, I don't know. Like, we all know Games Workshop definitely needs to spend more of its capital on its on helping.
Trying to be cool, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know. They need to spend more of their capital on just employing more staff to try and help everyone out. So yeah, that's my favourite one. The enemy can't use it against you, and you're half in the enemy's movement. There are other bonuses, like it's of course it's hard to summon, but it's hard for the enemy to unbind, and you do mortal wounds stuff. But like that's my favourite thing, that the enemy can't use it against you.
Yeah, it is the standout winner, isn't it? In terms of obviously, like the Demon Rift can do a lot more damage. If you want to try and summon +1 attack, then Doom-Sigil. But all in all, the most like beneficial all-rounder is the Rapture.
Yeah, agreed. And what I want to say as well is that because when we're honest when we do these reviews, we say what's good, what isn't good. But generally, unlike a lot of endless spells out there for armies, where some of them just like don't even read it, it's that crap, right? The Slaves of Darkness ones, all worth go. I'd say even like when we didn't talk too possibly about the 8-fold Doom-Sigil. We haven't used it loads. It's not like me and Jamie have used it 10 times in games and go, you know what, we've tried this thing 10 times. Its average is just not very good. Haven't used it that much. So go out there, use these models. You have to buy them all in a box anyway. Build them and see how they do. I'd say what we're telling you is just from our own experiences how useful they've been. And the Realm Scourge Rapture overall has been the most reliable and the best. So that is our favourite pick out of the three. Is there anything else you want to add about these endless spells, Jamie?
No, I think that's just it. Obviously, everything requires playtesting and how your own army lists do. We didn't unfortunately get too many games in before having to go into lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be nice to use them again. I don't think you even got yours out in the box yet, have you?
Mine's still sealed in the box, yeah. Mine is
and
still.
I only got to use them a few times.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I got carried away when the Slaves of Darkness got their pre-order of new shiny stuff. Happened about a year ago now. I was so excited. I was just like, yeah, limited edition, start collecting box, and the endless spells. Do I need any of that apart from the book? No, but I'm getting it anyway, and I haven't needed it to be honest with you for a year now. But it's also those ender spells look very cool, which can't be said about all the ender spells. Sorry about the goofy skull heads coming out of that chest for Nighthorn. Sorry, sorry, not sorry. Right, okay, cool, guys. So that is that. So what I want to say is I really hope that you've learned something from this, and we've maybe helped you a little bit by telling you our thoughts and our experiences. What I'd also like to say is if you have enjoyed this video, like I mentioned at the start, please smash that like button and that subscribe button if you haven't already, and that bell notification to make sure that you don't miss any of my videos, particularly if you're following along on these Slaves of Darkness videos, which I know a lot of you guys have been enjoying. And if you have any more comments or anything you just want to ask us, or anything you've agreed or disagreed with, please let us know that in the comments for this video, as like I've mentioned all the time, we are all here to learn. Don't feel like you're wrong or anything by letting us know that you think differently, because we're all here to learn, aren't we, at the end of the day? And you may be playing in New Zealand and you may be having a shitload more games than me and Jamie had, so fair enough to you with that. You've got more experience. But what I also want to say is a huge shout out again to my Patreons. as because of them, like I mentioned, they let me be able to make these videos to try and help as many people as possible. So I really appreciate them. And if you'd like to become a patron, please go to the link in the top description down below, where, like I say, it will take you to my Patreon account, and anything you can give, even just $1 a month, goes towards making me be able to keep this up. So thank you very much to my patrons, being Morghasts, so that's going to be Sandback. We've then got our vampires, which is Mir, Martinez, Rouse321, Max T, and David A. Then our Necromancers, which is Jacq.l, RadiationRiley, AW77, and Dice, Sagas, and WolfNick. So guys, whatever tier you are, you know how much support you bring to the channel, and like I mentioned, without you guys, wouldn't be able to do it. So can't thank you guys enough, and everyone else should thank you as well. Okay, so with no further ado, guys, I'm going to again thank you very much for watching this video. Until next time, when we do our next part of Slaves of Darkness, which is going to be looking at the battalions, which should be good fun. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, wear a face mask, stay hygienic, so we can actually all start playing again. And Jamie can use his endless spells again. I think that's all what we're aiming for, Jamie. When this COVID's all gone, you can use his endless spells, and I think that's what we're all. That's when we can sleep easy at night, when you can get those endless spells out again. I think is the idea.
Sooner the better.
Sooner the better. And maybe we'll be able to unwrap them. I want to at least build and paint the Realms Gear Rapture before we're gaming again, because I will be using it. Okay, guys, so with that all out of the way, I want to say, again, thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Hit that bell button. Become a patron if you want to. And remember, until next time, of course, that Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.